Hi, I'm Carl Taylor from visualeducation.com, and in this episode we're going to be looking at the powerful workhorse that is the Octabox 150. Now, before any of you say, oh, the Broncolor is very expensive or the Pro Photo is very expensive, yes, some of the top brand Octaboxes are more expensive, usually because of their durability and their build quality. But let's just take a look at the price to start with, okay? So the Broncolor Octabox 150 runs at about $350. The Pro Photo, I think, runs at about $450. Elinchrom, somewhere around there, similar as well. I'm not sure what the Godox is, but there are Octabox 150s with double diffusion that I've seen available even for as cheap as $100, but I can't account for the quality. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to discover what an Octabox 150 actually does, what it's for, what its attributes are, and what you should look out for if you are considering using one. So let's start off with the basic design. We have a large softbox, a homogeneous light source. That is essentially what softboxes are meant to provide you. That means homogeneous means that the area of illumination should be fairly even across the whole light source. Now, it's called a 150 for good reason, because in metric, that is 150 centimeters across, which is 59 inches in imperial measurements. Now, this particular softbox is well constructed. It's a high quality build. It has a Velcro surround here for attaching accessories, such as the grid, which we'll look at after, and also for attaching a third layer of diffusion if you want the softbox to be even more homogeneous. If we take the front diffusion off and we take a look inside the softbox, these are the things that you should be looking for in a good Octabox. Inside, we have another layer of internal diffusion. And what you'll notice with the design on this one, it has an extra layer of diffusion in the center to darken the exposure a little bit in the middle, because obviously the middle is where it's a lot brighter because of where the light source is. So if I unpopper that diffusion, of course, there is the light source surrounded by this speckled silver reflective material. That bounces the light around the softbox. It fires all the energy from the light out forwards, reflecting it back out, but it is still stronger in the center. And in this design, they put this extra layer of material to reduce the strength in the center, so that the spread of light around the softbox when it comes out of the softbox is more homogeneous, to give us that even light source across the whole surface. Now, the Broncolor one also has this additional layer of material that you can attach to the outside. It's not something that I ever use. The softbox as it is right now, with the inner diffusion and the single outer diffusion, gives me perfectly good quality homogeneous light. Now let's move on to the construction, because this is where a lot of softboxes fail. It's build quality, and by build quality I mean durability. When you're a photographer and you're working with something like the Octabox 150, which you may use really regularly, you may use it on location, you may use it in the studio. But if you are taking it out on location, it's quite a beast. And fitting it in your car means you usually have to break it down and collapse it. So let's take a look at that in more detail. Now, to remove a softbox from its light, this is where you should pay a bit of attention and a bit of care, because when you release any softbox from its light, the weight of it, there is a possibility of damage to the protective glass shell on your light. So one of the techniques that I prefer to do that can make it a lot easier is simply to take the whole light off of the studio stand and put the whole thing on the ground. And then you can just pull the lever to release the light, and you're not having to fight with the weight of the softbox anymore, because the ground is supporting the light instead, and that way it's easier to remove. The other option, which I'll show you in reverse in a second when we put it back on, is to actually turn your light upwards so that gravity is assisting you in putting it on. But even that is a little bit difficult because it's quite a big softbox. So it's still, I find, easier to do it on the ground. But let's take a look at the softbox and the build quality. So we have that silver layer that we were talking about here that peels back, and that reveals what's called the speed ring. Now, the speed ring is the ring design or locking mechanism for your particular light brand. In this case, this locking mechanism design is for Broncolor. But Broncolor, although this is Broncolor softbox, they also sell the speed rings so that their softboxes can fit on other brands. So if you've got a classic Bowens fit light for maybe your aperture LEDs, or you're using Elinchrom, Profoto, Godox, whatever, then you can buy the speed ring that is suited to your brand of light, pop it in there, put the correct rods into the correct holes, and then it will fit on your light. Now, interestingly, I've obviously got the Broncolor speed ring here because I'm using it on a Broncolor light. But I also have speed rings for the Bowens fit, because the Bowens fit is the fit for the Godox and for the aperture lights that we use for video, which means I can put this softbox on my video lights if necessary too. The other thing you'll notice here is the color coding system. So here for the Octabox, you can see all the blue dots, and they marry up with the blue rods. So when you're assembling this, based on this particular speed ring, you know which rod goes into which hole. So if you only had red dots, you'd connect the red rods into the red dots, etc., etc. So the speed rings are designed in that way. And to separate them is relatively simple. You just pop them out like so. Pop one out on this side, pop one out on the other side, opposite, opposite, and eventually the whole thing will then collapse down and allow you to pack it up. And that's what I talk about when I mean build quality, because if you're doing that on location, taking it out on a job, in your car from time to time or regularly as part of your work, that process of building it, unpacking it, building it, that takes its toll on a softbox. And a good quality softbox will stand the test of time. Now, let's put the softbox back onto the light and move on. So if you want to train your assistants to do a better job rather than fumbling around, just use this process, put the softbox on the floor, click the light on, much, much easier than trying to do it on the lighting stand. Okay, so we attach it back onto the lighting stand, and let's take a look now at the grids. Now, a lot of photographers see other photographers using grids and they think, oh, I must use a grid, I need a grid. Well, I don't use grids very often because a grid actually reduces the softness of the softbox because it narrows the angle of the beam that is coming out the softbox. So in effect, it actually becomes a slightly higher contrast light in many ways. But what it does do, and is very useful, is if you're working in a small space, maybe on an environmental portrait on location, or maybe in your studio, maybe you've got a smaller studio, and you're trying to avoid light spilling around your studio and affecting your background or other areas of your shot. That's when a grid is really, really useful. And here's one of the grids. This is the grid for the Octabox 150. I just have to figure out which part is the corners. And then these simply Velcro into position onto your softbox, attaching to the Velcro, and you just work your way around. Takes a little bit of time. And then once we get that on there, we'll find now that the angle that the light can escape is greatly reduced. So if you swing round to this side, you'll notice you can't see the softbox anymore because the grid is blocking it. So that means if I stand here, straight in front of the softbox, I still have the same soft light that I would have had, but as soon as I move off to the edge, it's not going to be as effective because the light spill can't get out here anymore, which, as I said, is really effective if you're working in a small studio. Let's take a look at the difference between it with the grid on our wall and without the grid. But just to assist us in that, I'm just going to turn off our video lights so we can see it a little bit easier. And I'm also going to turn this video light away so we can see a little bit more. So if I turn the softbox to the wall, I'm going to pull it back a little bit, and then our video guy can go around to the side and take a look at the light on the wall and see the spill of light that they can see here. Here I'm like at sort of, well, there you can see the distance, not quite full arm span away from my studio wall, and you can see the spill of light and how it's feathering out here with the grid. Now I'm going to try and rip the grid off as quickly as possible, and there you'll see now the light looks brighter and the spread is obviously wider. So the softbox in that standard setup will give you a softer, more usable light. Now, interestingly, the Octabox 150 is renowned as one of the most popular workhorses in a studio photographer's kit, and that's for good reason. This light replicates a very large or a medium-sized to large window, and it means it's very versatile for portraits, business portraits, even for some fashion beauty shots. Often in fashion and beauty shots, you'll use it up above at a 45-degree angle in what we call a clamshell setup, or you'll use it just above your model for full-length shots as well, can be quite effective. I find it a little bit flat and soft compared to some parabolic lighting, but it is good for portraits or using it with ordinary people that aren't as, attractive as, say, models models that can handle higher contrast lighting, if you like. The other thing that it's used for regularly, you'll see a lot of food photographers using the Octabox 150 because it gives a really good replication of natural window light, which is also a nice effect. Sometimes I even use the Octabox without the front diffuser. So if you want to sparkle up the light a little bit and create a little bit more, harder light, you've reduced the size of the light, you've reduced the homogeneous effect of the light, and you've added a few other little bits of glistening in there. You could actually use it in that form as well if you want to create a slightly harder light. So there's quite a lot you can do with the Octabox 150. It is a very versatile light. I would say that its main purpose is as a high quality soft portrait light, especially when you use it close to your subject. And we've got tons and tons of classes on visual education if you want to learn the very specific techniques for using the Octabox. Now, let's take a look as well at our modifier comparison app tool that we have on visual education. So right now in our app tool, where I can select any modifier here on the left and compare it with any modifier on the right now I have the Octabox 150 on the left compared to a bare bulb studio light. And you can see the huge difference between a bare bulb studio light and obviously the softer light from the Octabox 150. If we zoom in, we can see the effect in the eyes, the larger catch light in the eyes. We can see the softening of the light on the skin, the broader light reflected on the lips compared to the bare bulb light. And of course, a huge difference in the type of shadows, the diffused shadows from the Octabox 150 compared to a bare bulb light. And no doubt we'll see a big difference in how the light looks on the hair as well. If we switch from our headshot to full length body shot here, we can see the different quality of look that we get with the Octabox compared to just a bare bulb light and the hard shadow that casts. So the Octabox 150 really is a very good light for all photographers. I mean, literally, if you're a studio photographer, then pretty much you should own an Octabox 150 because it's such a versatile light. Obviously, we spoke about the assembly there, the durability, we've spoken about the grids, and we've spoken about what it's used for. One of the other things I think that we should just point out before we wrap this up is about the purity of the material. Often on cheaper softboxes, on lower quality softboxes, you get a material that isn't neutral. So the material may be too warm, giving you a yellow, warm tone to your images, or the material may be too blue and you end up with a very cold tone to your images. On high quality softboxes, like this broncolor one, you get a really well balanced neutral material on the inner and outer diffusers along with that high quality construction. And to be honest, the Octabox 150 in this case, which as I said is around about $350 for this particular one, you're going to get a lot of value from that, a lot of money's worth, because this is going to be a lighting tool that you use over and over again. So if you'd like to compare the Octabox 150 to lots of other lighting modifiers, check out our modifier comparison app on visualeducation.com, and you can also check out some of our tutorials where we teach you and show you lots of techniques and ways of applying the Octabox 150 for your photography.